And then his mother-in-law jumped in like, fishing trip? Like, nigga, you don't fish. And he was like, yeah, I just started recently, innit? So they're like, okay,
Sus.
where did you go fishing? And he was like, I went, basically I went down the ocean. He bought like a little tiny fishing boat. He's like, I went down the ocean. It was 90 miles away. And then, so the police like, you went fishing 90 miles away. But they showed a map. In his defense, where they are, they're landlocked. There's no water for time.
Okay.
So you're like, I'm saying the whole time you're like,
okay.
The whole time you're like, okay. And it was like, yeah, it's 90 miles away. But then they shows the map and you're like, where the fuck else is he supposed to go? So like, all right, cool. So what did you do when you got there? He's like, I went on my boat, went out there, went a bit of fishing. I drove past this island. And then like, talk to me about the island. It was like, it had loads of trash on it. It was called, I saw a sign saying, you can't do this. I don't know what the island was called. And then the officer was like, I think this is the island you're talking about. I was like, yeah, cool. Did some fishing, didn't really catch shit. Came home. So they were like, all right, bet, like, where's your boat? And he was like, I keep it at my workshop. And he was like, all right, cool. Can you take me there? So he takes him there, looking around. And they're like, all right, cool. So like, why does no one know you have a boat? And why does no one know you're fishing? And he was like, I was trying to keep it a surprise for my father-in-law. And then the mother-in-law jumped in like, why would you keep it a surprise for him? He doesn't even fish either. Like, what's all this surprise stuff? And he was like, so when did you buy the boat? And then he still has a receipt for when he bought the boat. He's like, I bought the boat on this day from this place. He goes, I was using like a big silver lure to catch the fish and all this kind of stuff. And then the police officer was going through all the stuff and he could see the receipts and he could see when he bought it and it was a few weeks ago and all this kind of shit. But he was like, but the police officer was like, one thing that stood out to me is he said he used this big silver lure when he was fishing. The lure was still in the packet. I found the silver lure. It's still in the packet. I haven't used. And then, yeah, it was looking a bit sus. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was looking a bit sus. And then they were like, he said, so like, tell me about like the boat and all this kind of stuff. He's like, I bought it this day, did this. This is the first time I took it out on the water. And he was like, the first time you took it out on the water was 100 miles away in the ocean. And he was like, yeah. And he was like, all right, cool. And then he said like, oh, cool. Like he saw in the boat, he saw an anchor and you could tell like the anchor was homemade. So it was like a little metal box that he had made, probably filled with cement himself.